By Tim Senevic.
Hey, good morning. Happy Monday, Kristen.
Good morning. Happy Monday is right. We want to talk some Snap. The stock is down almost, 2% now at a new all-time low. And to say the future is unknown would be an understatement by some standards. The stock continues to drop, obviously, and there we show it right there, even after it was upgraded by analysts. Now the company's earliest investors are able to sell their shares following the end of this IPO lockup. So joining us now to discuss is Alex Heath, senior reporter for Business Insider. Alex, you wrote a good piece about Snap and what's going on there, specifically about the culture as well. But how many of Snap's original IPO investors are now able to let this stock go?
Yeah, it's 400 million shares today from early investors, and that's also lumping in ex-employees who don't fall into the SEC's insider trading windows there. So about 400 million today, and then 600 million after earnings next week.
So Alex, how should people read into this, right? So if you see a lot of volatility today, which we're already seeing Snap nearing an all-time low right now, if a lot of investors and early investors and employees are shedding shares right now, I mean, what does that say about Snap as a company and how they believe in it?
I think with this particular lockup, you're going to see a lot more volatility because a lot of the early investors are not going to be underwater because when they bought in, obviously the stock was still lower than it is now. I think it's to be expected. I think people want liquidity. I think that's why you IPO, right? So I think today it's going to be very volatile, and you should expect that. I think what's going to be more interesting is what happens next week with the current employee and executive lockup that happens after earnings. Earnings is going to be huge next week. It's really going to decide what the stock does for the next, I think, quarter. So.
Well, some people saying too, I mean, actually some surprise that maybe the stock isn't down more, but of course it's already been beaten up so significantly, down double digits ever since it went public right back in the spring or late winter, that is. And so in terms of how the stock is performing today, maybe some people see this too as a buying opportunity and they want to hold on until we actually get the earnings.
Yeah, I think so. I think Barclays issued a note about a week ago saying that they see it as a buying opportunity. I mean, it depends on what your prospect of the company's future is, like what you think about it. I think people have very split opinions, right? I think, so if you look at like Facebook, say, at this time after their IPO, it was just as volatile. The stock was not doing well. And I think it's going to be important to see whether in earnings next week, if Evan and his co-founder Bobby Murphy say they're going to hold on to their shares or not. Because Zuck did that, if you all remember, around this time, and that really,
it was a vote of confidence in some ways.
Yeah, it assuaged investor fears, and the stock started to recover a little bit. So, I mean, Evan and Bobby, the two co-founders, are the two largest shareholders by a wide margin. So if they commit to not selling, I think that's going to give everyone a vote of confidence.
Okay, speaking of culture there, and speaking of Evan Spiegel, you wrote a big piece over the weekend about the culture at Snap. Lay out for our viewers how the culture there is different than, say, a Facebook or Google, especially in terms of the way the CEO keeps such a tight lead on the company.
It couldn't be more different, right? Like, the company is Evan's company. I've been covering Snap for a while. I wanted to see if since the IPO, and so the company headcount tripled, I think, last year, right? So I wanted to see if with headcount expanding and with the IPO, if Evan has started to delegate a little bit, right? Like Zuck did early on. That hasn't happened. From everything I can tell, he's got an even tighter grip on the company, and he really does insert himself in day-to-day, I mean, the most mundane of things that still have to get approved by him. And so, and at the same time, he's not really there. Employees don't see him. He's not much for boosting internal morale. So it's an interesting time. He's a very divisive person inside the company. What I kept hearing was the power you have inside the company is really relative to your closeness to Evan. He's really kind of the center of gravity, so to speak.
Very interesting. Okay, Alex, we only have a short bit of time here before we wrap, but just quickly, do you expect that to continue the way that's structured? You expect more delegation?
I see no reason why it wouldn't, unless they bring in somebody like a Cheryl or somebody to really get the ad business going and to start to build up company morale and internal communication. I don't see it. So,
Okay. Alex Heath, wish we could have kept you for longer, but thank you so much, reporter for Business Insider.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, we've got